I want you to take a second and look at the person sitting next to you. No, really look at them. Look into their eyes. What do you see? Do you see a stranger, or do you see a reflection of the same hunger, the same fear, and the same untapped potential that's been screaming inside of you for years? Why is it that we wait for the calendar to flip to a certain page before we give ourselves permission to change? Why do we wait for a new year to decide that we've had enough of our own bullshit? I'm telling you right now, the most dangerous lie you've ever been told is that change takes a long time. Change happens in a heartbeat. It happens the moment you decide, truly decide, that I'm not living like this anymore. I remember a time years ago when I was living in a 400 square foot apartment, washing my dishes in the bathtub because I didn't have a kitchen sink. I was overweight, I was broke, and I was lonely. I sat there on the floor and I started to cry. But they weren't just tears of sadness, they were tears of rage. I was pissed off at myself because I knew I was playing a small game. I was settling for crumbs when I was built for the feast. That night, I didn't make a resolution. I made a declaration. I realized that if I wanted my life to change, I had to change. So, I want to take you on a journey today. I want to walk you through the 7 shifts, the 7 awakenings, that will turn this year from a maybe into a must. Most people think they've made a decision when they set a New Year's resolution. But what they've actually made is a preference. They've stated what they'd like to see happen if the wind blows the right way and the stars align and nobody gets in their way. But I'm telling you right now, that is not a decision, that's a daydream. A real decision, a life-altering, bone-deep, soul-shaking decision, is the ultimate power that changes everything in an instant. You see, the word decision comes from the Latin root cadir, which literally means to cut off. When you truly decide on a new path for your personal development this year, you are cutting off any other possibility. You are saying that there is no plan B, there is no retreat, and there is no going back to the person you were yesterday. Most people fail because they leave the back door open. They say they want to be healthy, but they keep the junk food in the pantry, just in case. They say they want to start a business, but they keep their old excuses on speed dial. If you want to take the island, you have to burn the boats. You have to create a situation where the only way out is through, where the only option is to succeed or to grow through the attempt. Think about your life right now. Think about the things you've been shooting on for years. I should get in shape. I should be more present with my kids. I should finally write that book. We all have a list of shoulds. That's a mile long, and do you know what happens to those shoulds? They make us feel miserable. They create a weight of guilt that we carry around like a backpack full of stones. But your life doesn't change when you should on it. Your life changes when your should becomes a must. When it becomes a non-negotiable part of who you are. When it becomes a must, you find a way. You don't need the perfect circumstances, you create the circumstances. A real decision is the catalyst that turns your invisible dreams into visible reality. It is the moment you stop being a passenger in your life, and you grab the steering wheel with both hands. This new year, I want you to stop making wishes and start making declarations. I want you to look at that one area of your life that has been holding you back. That one area where you've been playing small. And I want you to make a death ground decision. Decide that you will not tolerate mediocrity for one more second. This isn't about being perfect, it's about being committed. When you are truly committed, your brain shifts from, can I do this, to how will I do this? That shift is the birth of your new life. It's the moment the universe knows you're serious. So, what is it going to be? What is the one thing you are cutting off today so that you can finally step into the greatness you were built for? Listen to me closely, because this is the invisible force that is either going to pull you toward the life of your dreams or keep you anchored in the same frustrating patterns you've been repeating for years. The strongest force in the entire human personality is the need to stay consistent with how we define ourselves. I call this your identity, and it acts like an invisible thermostat for your life. If you've defined yourself as a person who struggles with weight, or someone who is just not good with money, or a procrastinator, then that is exactly what you will be, regardless of how many New Year's resolutions you write down. You will never, ever outperform your own self-image. You could have the best intentions, the best planners, and the most expensive gym memberships, but if your internal identity hasn't changed, you will eventually find a way to sabotage your progress and get back to the temperature where you feel comfortable. It's like a thermostat in a room. If it's set to 68 degrees and someone opens a window and the heat of success starts pouring in, the thermostat will kick in the air conditioning of self-sabotage to bring you right back down to that 68-degree person you think you are. Think about the difference between someone who says, "I'm trying to quit smoking," and someone who says, "I am a non-smoker." If you offer a cigarette to the person trying to quit, they have to use every ounce of willpower. They have to say no. They're fighting their own identity. They still see themselves as a smoker, so they feel like they're depriving themselves of something they love. But the person who has decided, "I am a non-smoker," doesn't need willpower. It's not a struggle. It's simply not who they are anymore. When you change your identity, the behavior follows effortlessly. This is the year where you stop focusing on what you want to get, and you start focusing on who you want to be. Most people go through life trying to do things to get things so they can finally be someone. They think, if I do the work and get the money, then I'll be successful. No, that's backwards. You have to be the person first. You have to adopt the identity of the successful leader, the world-class athlete, or the deeply present parent right now, before the external world gives you any evidence that it's true. This requires a radical shift in how you see yourself. You have to expand the box. If you've been living in a tiny box of, "I'm not enough," or "I'm too old," or "I've failed too many times," you have to realize that those are just stories you've been telling yourself. They aren't the truth. The truth is that you are a being of unlimited potential, but you've been hypnotized into believing you're small. This new year, I want you to step into a new skin. I want you to ask yourself, if I were already the person I want to become, how would I walk? How would I talk? How would I treat people? How would I handle a setback? When you start acting as if you are that person, you begin to build a new set of references for your brain. You start to see that you can handle the pressure. You can stay disciplined and you can lead. You aren't trying to change. You are becoming the truth of who you were always meant to be. This is the year you break the thermostat. This is the year you stop settling for a shadow of yourself and you step into the light of your true identity. You are not your past. You are not your mistakes. And you are certainly not the labels other people have tried to pin on you. You are whoever you decide to be in this moment. Listen to me very carefully. The biggest lie you've ever been told about success is that you need to wait until you feel like it to take action. We've all been there. Sitting on the couch, staring at the gym bag, waiting for a lightning bolt of motivation to strike us so we can finally get moving. But I'm telling you right now, motivation is a fair weather friend. Motivation is a feeling that comes and goes like the wind. If you base your New Year's goals on how you feel in the moment, you are doomed to stay exactly where you are. The secret that the highest achievers in the world understand is that you don't have energy, you generate it. You don't wait for a state of certainty, you create it. This is what I call mastering your state. Your state is your internal climate, the sum of your emotions, your biochemistry, and your focus in any given moment. If you are in a lousy state, frustrated, tired, overwhelmed, you are going to produce lousy results. You could be the smartest person in the room, but if your state is set to depressed, your brain won't even be able to access the answers you need. How do you change your state in a heartbeat? It starts with the understanding that motion creates emotion. Your physical body is the most powerful tool. You have to change your psychology. Think about it. What does a depressed person look like? Their shoulders are slumped, their head is down, their breathing is shallow, and their face is slack. You cannot feel unstoppable in that physical posture. It is biologically impossible. But the reverse is also true. If you want to feel powerful, you have to move your body powerfully. You have to throw your shoulders back, breathe deep into your diaphragm, and put a radical, almost ridiculous smile on your face. When you move with intensity, you change the biochemistry of your brain. You flood your system with dopamine and testosterone, and you clear out the cortisol that's been keeping you paralyzed. This is why I tell people to jump, to shout, to clap their hands. Not because I'm crazy, but because I know that if you change your physiology, you instantly change your reality. This new year, I want you to stop being a victim of your moods and start being the master of your state. You need to develop a power move, a physical action that snaps you out of a funk and back into a state of certainty. When you feel that old procrastination creeping in, don't analyze it, don't meditate on it, and for God's sake, don't talk about it. Just move. Stand up, go for a sprint, do 10 jumping jacks, or scream at the top of your lungs. Break the pattern! Your focus follows your movement. What you focus on, you feel. If you focus on what's wrong, you'll feel like garbage. If you focus on your mission and your musts, and you back that focus with a body that is alive and energized, nothing can stop you. You have to realize that you are the architect of your own internal experience. You have the remote control in your hand. This year, we are turning the volume up on passion. We are turning the volume up on certainty, and we are moving with a level of intensity that the world has never seen from us before. Remember, the quality of your life is the quality of the states you live in. Master your state, and you master your destiny. Now, I want to talk to you about something that most people try to run away from. We've talked about making decisions, shifting your identity, raising your standards, and mastering your state. But eventually, you're going to hit a wall. You're going to hit a moment where the excitement of the new year wears off. The honeymoon phase of your resolution is over, and suddenly, it's just hard. It's cold, you're tired, your bank account hasn't changed yet, and that old voice in your head starts whispering, maybe this just isn't for you. Most people see that difficulty as a sign to stop. They think, if it's this hard, I must be doing something wrong. But I am here to tell you that when you hit that wall, you have found the greatest gift of your life. I want you to understand that the struggle is not your enemy. The struggle is your training ground. Think about how do you get a muscle to grow? You don't go to the gym and lift feathers. You don't sit on the bench and visualize being strong. You go to the iron and you pick up a weight that is so heavy it makes your muscles scream. You create resistance. You literally have to tear the muscle fibers down for them to grow back thicker and stronger than they were before. Life is the exact same way. You cannot grow in a vacuum of comfort. You cannot become a leader, a hero, or a master of your own destiny if you are constantly seeking the path of least resistance. Every single person you admire, every legend, every titan of industry, every person who has changed the world, was forged in the fire of struggle. They didn't get lucky, they got tough. They didn't avoid the pain, they used the pain as fuel. One of the most powerful shifts you can ever make in your personal development is moving from the question, why is this happening to me? To the realization, this is happening for me. When you believe life is happening for you, then every setback becomes a setup. Every no becomes a lesson in persistence. Every failure becomes a piece of data that helps you adjust your strategy. I remember sitting in that 400 square foot apartment I told you about, wondering why life was being so cruel to me. I thought I was being buried. But the truth was, I wasn't being buried, I was being planted. I was being given the exact experiences I needed to develop the empathy, the drive, and the hunger to help millions of people around the world. If I hadn't gone through that struggle, I wouldn't be the man I am today. I would be soft, I would be shallow. So, when you hit February or March and the New Year energy has faded and the resistance shows up, I want you to stand tall and say, thank God, here is my chance to grow. Don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. Don't wish for fewer problems, wish for more skills. If you want to fly like an eagle, you have to realize that the eagle doesn't fly despite the wind, it uses the resistance of the wind to soar higher. This year, I want you to fall in love with the work. Fall in love with the grind. Fall in love with the moment when you want to quit, but you decide to take one more step anyway. That extra step is where the character is built. That extra step is where the identity shift we talked about becomes permanent. You aren't just someone who wants a better life, you are someone who has earned it through the fire. The struggle is the universe's way of asking you, how badly do you really want this? Show the world your answer. Show them that your must is stronger than any obstacle. We have talked about the inner world, the decisions, the identity, the standards, and the state. But now we have to talk about the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. That bridge is massive action. You see, we live in a society that is addicted to learning. People spend years getting degrees, reading books, and attending seminars, but they never actually do anything with the information. They are getting ready to get ready. They say, Tony, I just need one more certification, or I just need to finish this one last research phase. I call this analysis paralysis, and it is the most sophisticated form of self-sabotage there is. It's a way to stay safe, because as long as you're planning, you can't fail. But as long as you're planning, you're also not living. You're sitting on the sidelines of your own life while the clock is ticking. I'm telling you right now, the only cure for fear, the only thing that will drown out the what-ifs and the am I good enoughs is massive, immediate, and consistent action. Fear is a ghost that lives in the gap between your thoughts and your movement. When you stand still, that ghost grows until it looks like a giant. But the moment you start moving, the moment you take massive action, that ghost disappears. You don't have time to be afraid when you're too busy executing. Think about it. If you're standing at the edge of a cold pool, the longer you stand there, the more your mind talks you out of it. You think about the temperature, you think about the shock, you think about the discomfort. But if you just run and jump, the shock lasts for a second, and then you're swimming. You're in the game. Most people are standing at the edge of their lives, shivering, waiting for the water to get warm. The water isn't going to get warm until you get in and start moving. The secret to massive action is a concept I've taught for decades. Success leaves clues. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. If you want to transform your finances this year, find someone who has gone from broke to wealthy and do exactly what they did. If you want a legendary relationship, find a couple that has been married for 30 years and is still head over heels in love and model their behavior. But here is the catch. You can't just do a little bit of what they do. You have to do massive amounts of it. Most people try something once, it doesn't work, and they say, "See, I knew it wouldn't work." That's not action. That's a half-hearted attempt to prove yourself right about failing. Massive action means you try one way, and if that doesn't work, you try another. And if that doesn't work, you try another. You change your approach until you find the one that hits the target. You don't stop until the result is in your hand. Perfectionism is the enemy of progress. It is the lowest standard on earth because it's a standard you can never achieve. So it gives you an excuse to never start. I want you to give yourself permission to be messy. This year, I want you to value done over perfect. Take the leap before you feel ready. Launch the business before the website is perfect. Start the diet today, even if you have a birthday party tomorrow. When you move with massive action, you create a vacuum behind you that pulls in resources, people, and opportunities that you never could have planned for. You build a level of certainty that only comes from experience, not from books. This is the year you stop being a consumer and start being a producer. No more, "I'll try." From this moment on, your vocabulary only has room for "I will." When you commit to massive action, you aren't just changing your circumstances, you are proving to your soul that you are a person of power. You are closing the gap between the person you are and the person you were born to be. We have reached the summit of this journey, and this is where the magic happens. Everything we've talked about, the decisions, the identity, the standards, the state, the struggle, and the action, all of it is designed to lead you to this one critical realization. Success is not a destination, it is a direction. And the only way to keep moving in that direction when the world gets heavy is through the science of momentum. Think about a massive freight train. When that train is sitting still, you could put a small wooden block in front of one of the drive wheels, and that multi-million-pound machine wouldn't be able to move an inch. It has all that potential, all that power, but it's stuck. However, once that train gets moving, once it builds momentum, and it's screaming down the tracks at 60 miles per hour, it can smash through a 5-foot thick reinforced concrete wall and keep right on going. That is what I want for your life this year. I don't want you to just try to change. I want you to become a freight train of human potential. The hardest part of any change is the first millimeter. It takes more energy to get that train to move its first foot than it does to keep it going for the next 50 miles. This is why people quit. They put in all this effort in January, and they don't see the results yet, so they think it's not working. But they don't understand the physics of progress. You are building the flywheel effect. You are pushing that heavy wheel, and at first, it barely budges. You're sweating, you're tired, and nothing seems to be happening. But then, it moves an inch, then a foot, then a full rotation. Suddenly, the weight of the wheel starts working for you. This is why the rich get richer, the fit get fitter, and the happy get happier. They aren't working harder than you, they just have momentum on their side. Your job in these first few months of the new year is to guard your momentum like your life depends on it. Don't you dare stop. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. But keep moving. Once you gain momentum, the things that used to be hard become automatic. You don't have to think about being disciplined, it's just who you are. But there is a final piece to this puzzle, and it is the most important one of all. If you only do this for yourself, if your goals are only about your car, your house, or your ego, you will eventually burn out. The human spirit can only go so far on self-interest. But we will do more for those we love than we will ever do for ourselves. This is the power of contribution. I have said it for 40 years. The secret to living is giving. We grow so that we have something to give. When you realize that your health is not just for you, but so you can be an energetic parent for your children, When you realize your wealth is not just for you, but so you can fund a cause that changes the world. When you realize your growth is a lighthouse for others who are still lost in the dark, that is when you tap into a reservoir of energy that never runs dry. Contribution is what gives your momentum a soul. It's what makes the struggle worth it. It's what turns a resolution into a mission. When you are on a mission to serve others, the universe backs you up. You start to see opportunities that you were blind to before. You find strength in your dark nights because you know people are counting on you. This year, I want you to ask yourself a different question. Instead of asking, what can I get from this year? I want you to ask, who can I serve? How can I become so much more that I have a surplus of love, a surplus of joy, and a surplus of resources to pour into others? That is the ultimate level of personal development. That is how you become truly wealthy. Because at the end of your life, you won't remember the things you bought. You will remember the lives you touched and the person you became in the process. We have traveled a long way today. We started by looking at the person next to you and realizing that we are all in this together. We walked through the fires of decision and identity. We raised the bar and mastered the way we move and feel. We looked the struggle in the face and called it a gift. We committed to massive action, and we promised to build a life of momentum and service. As you leave here today, I want you to take a deep breath and feel the truth of what you've just committed to. The old you is gone. That version of you that settled for crumbs, that version of you that was afraid of the what-ifs, that version of you that waited for the calendar to change before you dared to dream, that person is dead. You have been reborn in the fires of your own conviction. This isn't just another year. This is the year of your breakthrough. This is the year where you stop playing the maybe game and you start playing the must game. I want you to go out there and live with so much passion, so much heart, and so much certainty that people have to stop and ask you what your secret is. And when they do, you look them in the eye and you tell them, I decided. I changed my identity. I raised my standards. And I realized that I was born for greatness. The world is waiting for you. Not the quiet you, not the safe you, but the real you. The one who is loud and proud and filled with the light of contribution. Go out there and take this year by the throat. Make it yours. Live with passion. Live with purpose. And never, ever settle for anything less than the extraordinary life you were created for.